Today, instead of our usual weekly release video, we're going to talk about something a bit more serious. The COVID virus has been wreaking havoc around the world. We first mentioned it in a news roundup when it cropped up in China and it was affecting the manufacturing of board games. However, now it has spread to more populations, causing more of the people to be infected and increasing its fatality. This has not only affected manufacturing, but we've now seen it affect other areas in the board game industry and the hobby itself.
More and more, we're starting to see reports of different areas of the industry being affected by this. Just recently, the publisher Cryptozoic announced that they would not be attending Emerald City Comic-Con that's coming up soon in Seattle out of safety concerns for their employees. And then after that, CMON announced that their 2020 Expo, which they usually hold annually to release new games, let people come in and try them out, show off some new announcements, that is going to be canceled completely. It's not happening at all. It was supposed to be scheduled for this coming May. So more and more we're starting to see these things come into the board game world. And I do want to say right now, disclaimer, neither of us are doctors. We're not health experts. And obviously we realize that there are larger ramifications of this, but we're focused in on the board game, so that's what we're talking about in this video. But yeah, you talked about it earlier, referenced at the manufacturing process. Obviously that's still a big problem because I think all board games are like probably 90% of them, it's so high, are manufactured in China.
A significant chunk of them, yes. And from what I've heard since then, some of those factories still haven't either opened or may not open again, so there might even be less factories for board game manufacturers to go to fix this.
I know that I have a few different Kickstarter projects that I've been following that have talked about them having delays. They don't know. Obviously, these factories aren't functioning right now, and they can't really give a date as to when things are going to start moving again. And it seems, that's, of course, we've seen that in other industries as well. Even, I talked about other people pulling out or canceling their conventions, but South by Southwest is obviously a huge one, completely canceled. They do mostly like movies and media and other things, but they do have some board game content there as well. But I think that even speaks to just the larger issue of people don't want to gather in large spaces right now. And if this continues, I think in the coming weeks and months, it seems like that this is probably going to continue on the trajectory it's at now. Things could get worse. And it's obviously bad for a number of reasons, and maybe it just seems frivolous to talk about at first, like, oh, board game convention, what's the big deal? But a lot of people's livelihoods depend on those conventions.
I mean, we mentioned it with the manufacturing, sure, they do have the game ready to print or for a Kickstarter or something, but they were really hoping to get this in time for a convention or something to help reveal it. If they can't sell in time, they might not have enough money to survive those extra few months.
Yeah.
And, some companies, like a lot of the bigger ones, like Amazon or something, they can get away with sending their workers home and telling them to work from home for whatever the case may be. But for board games, that can be a little bit more difficult.
If you're a game publisher, an indie publisher, maybe you might have like a team of 6 people, and probably, especially for something like Gen Con or these other larger events, any kind of Comic-Con, you plan your year and your finances often around these events, and you decide how many games we're going to manufacture and bring to these events.
Yeah, I mean, even with, I think CMON is probably sweating a little because recently they've been doing a lot more on Kickstarters.
Right.
I know they have that preview video for Ankh, but I wonder if that's getting delayed because of this, and how long can it be delayed for? Yeah.
I mean, we're not seeing the Kickstarter project slow down yet, but certainly when those games actually are made, it's potentially going to be slowed down, and that could have a larger impact going forward. And there's also an impact for just attendees, consumers at these shows too. Obviously, a lot of them, this is their chance to play new games. For some people, it's just their chance to play games at all. Some people maybe don't have a great gaming group. They go to these conventions, they try to socialize.
Well, that's the other big issue with our hobby, is not even like going for conventions and stuff. Our hobby is about people meeting together and usually sharing pieces and cards and stuff. If you go to a Magic the Card draft, you're passing around packs of cards. Everyone's touching the same pieces.
Yeah.
So there really is a bit of a health worry, I would say, if you're playing with people, especially if you go to something like a draft where you're playing with lots of strangers.
Yeah.
So this is something where you really do want to make sure you keep up on the things and listen to people who are actually doctors and scientists.
Listen to them, please.
When they're saying things like, don't wear a mask unless you're already sick, wash your hands for 20 seconds at least, check the CDC site, follow those guidelines, and don't touch this.
Don't touch that, people. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I'm someone who I usually get sick after or during every convention I go to, just standard normal time of the year without any
convention flu.
Pandemics going around. Yeah, like it's very easy in any kind of a large group to contract some kind of an illness from these things. And I'm starting to worry, and this is purely speculation. I don't have any insider information, but I would not be surprised if things don't turn around in the next few weeks, next couple of months. We might not see a Gen Con this year. What do you? I mean,
I think
they have to be talking about this right now behind closed doors because
they
can't not be.
I'm not a doctor. I want to preface that, but I think it was the Spanish flu, another big pandemic, and what happened was it actually died down during the summer area, but it sprang back up in fall. Like when it got cooled down a bit. So even when this, let's say the virus does seem to just start disappearing and, before Gen Con, you should still probably keep these practices up for the rest of the year.
Definitely. But I think even if there's a chance that things maybe start to die down, you also have to consider just the larger, right. But even from a public perception, it still might not be, if people don't think it's safe, then they're not going to want to attend something. And Gen Con might be looking at either if they could just cancel it because they're afraid people won't come, or what if they decide to go forward with it and maybe a lot of publishers drop out, maybe a lot of attendees drop out.
Even if the attendees come, if none of the companies are willing to send
exhibitors. And same with PAX, any conventions coming up in the year. And that's why I was interested too in when CMON's convention was supposed to be in May, which is, that's basically the start of summer. It's, the warmer months are starting there. And
once again, my thing is a no guarantee. That was just looking back at one moment.
But you want, they're going to want to make these announcements early enough so that people aren't making their plans last minute and having to change things around.
Right, because flight and hotel rooms are expensive.
I am worried, and the impact of it, again, if more of these conventions are canceled, more games come out, it really does have a big effect on the industry, and it could be, I don't want to start fear mongering by any means. There's enough of that everywhere else in the media right now, but it could be bad for our industry. It could really be bad.
It could be, but I think one of the bright spots about this virus is we can fight it. Yes, there is no cure, there's no vaccine right now, but one of the things you can do is just try to stay healthy. Wash your hands very well, clean them, make sure they're clean with Purell or whatever the disinfectants. If you stay healthy, you're also helping your entire game group.
Yes, please wash your hands always, forever, but especially now, but really always, just always be doing it.
This can be the time where you can make it a habit.
Yes, make it a habit now. So we're going to obviously continue to follow this as it continues to have ramifications for our industry as well as the world. It's obviously kind of shaking up to be a big deal. So let us know in the comments if you have any thoughts about this. Are you a health expert? Do you have opinions on these things? Or are you maybe attending one of these conventions, or were you planning to attend one of the ones that's been canceled at this point? Do you have fears about this going forward?
Are you actually attending as an attendee, or are you working for the exhibitor, whether as a volunteer or actually working for a company? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully everything works out. Until next time, keep washing your hands. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this is Roll for Crit.
We want you to like and subscribe, and if you have the chance, take a look at our Patreon.
Thank you for being a friend. Subscribe to our channel and back again. Okay.